Alright, welcome to a video on parallel and perpendicular lines. So this is kind of a review from algebra, except we're going to not go and do as many in-depth things as we did in Algebra 1 when you had me, or last year in 8th grade if you did this. So, definitions. You know I love my definitions. So parallel lines. Our definition for this is it's two lines that never intersect. Parallel means they're never going to touch, and they have the same slope. So two lines that have the same slope are parallel. For perpendicular, this is two lines that intersect to form four right angles, and their slopes are opposite reciprocal. So opposite reciprocal. Here's what that means. That means if I have 1 divided by 2. The opposite of this is negative 1 divided by 2, and then the reciprocal means you basically flip the fraction. So this becomes a negative 2 over 1. Well, negative 2 over 1 is just negative 2. So that's what opposite reciprocal means. You change the sign and you flip the fraction. And we're going to do everything in slope-intercept form, just because it's the easiest way to do this for what we're going to do. So the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is your y-intercept. So m is our slope, our rise, and our run, and our b is the y-intercept. It's the place that it crosses the y-axis. So let's hop right in with an example. So here's the line that we're going to work with. Whenever you're looking at your lines, and this is what it will look like on your practice problems and quiz, what you need to do is you need to find the slope and the intercept, the y-intercept, and then we can go from there. So our slope is going to be represented by m, and our y-intercept is going to be b. Now, b is going to be probably your easier pick to do. So if we look at the y-axis, it's our vertical axis, we look here, we see that our b is at negative 2. That's a really bad 2, wasn't it? Negative 2. So our y-intercept is negative 2. Now we need to find our slope. So to find the slope, you need to pick 2 points. It can be any 2 points as long as they are going through an actual coordinate. So you could use the y-intercept if you wanted, but we don't have to. Let's go up here. I'm going to do this in red. So I'm going to go from this point to this point. So we go right 1 and then down 2. Now our slope is represented by our rise, so how far we rise up or down, over our run, how far we move left and right. I like doing hand signals too, even though you can't see it. Yes. So for our slope, it's going to be rise over run. So that's going to be negative 2 divided by 1. Well, we can simplify that into just negative 2. If it's a fraction, that's just like 1 over 2, leave it, but because it's divided by 1, we can just make it the integer that it is. So we're going to use these to form our original equation for this line. So we need to do the original equation. So remember, it's y equals, well, that's silly of me, you can't use that color there. Y equals mx plus b. And if we remember, our m was negative 2, so right here we're just going to replace m with negative 2 multiplied by x, plus our b, which is also negative 2. Let's not have plus and negative. Let's just change that plus negative to a minus 2. So now we're going to use this to make our parallel and perpendicular lines. So remember that parallel has the same slope, so same m. Perpendicular has the opposite reciprocal m. So if our original is y equals negative 2x plus 2, all we have to do is just rewrite this y equals negative 2 multiplied by x. So because our slope is the same, we don't do anything to the m. but we do have to change our +2. That's why it's important to know the original, because you have to change that. Because if we were to put a +2 here, they wouldn't be parallel. They'd be the same line. They'd intersect everywhere. So let's just change this to something that's not +2. It can be anything you want. I'm just going to go +1. So here's our parallel line to our original. So here we have y equals -2x plus 2 is our original. Now this is different because our slope has to change, but our y-intercept can stay the same. So we need to take our slope, that's -2, and if it's not a fraction, make it a fraction. It needs to become the opposite. So the opposite would be 2 over 1. And then we need to do the reciprocal. So this is the opposite. Reciprocal means you flip it. So this is our reciprocal part. So now we're going to use that 1/2 in place of m. So it becomes y equals 1/2 x plus 2. If you want to change the +2 as well, go crazy and do it. So here's our perpendicular line. Okay, now I have an example for you to try on your own. So I want you to go ahead, pause the video, and try this now. Alright, so here's my work with the graph part. So go ahead, check your work with mine. And if you haven't done the work like I did in the previous one, the second page, finding the parallel and perpendicular line, go ahead, pause the video, do that now, because I'm going to flip over to that. So here's all that work, the original, the parallel line, and the perpendicular line work. So go ahead, check your work with mine, make sure we're all good. After that, you're done with the video.